What's going on YouTube? I'm back with another educational video, and honestly guys, this one had to be made because I keep getting asked on my Twitch, my YouTube comments, even in my Twitter DMs, I keep getting asked this same question. Got any tips? It's the most general question ever, and I could say a million different things every time it's asked, so instead of doing that, I decided to just put together a tip video for you guys. With this type of video, you could sort of say that I'm sharing my skills with you guys, and that's why the sponsor of today's video is actually going to be Skillshare. Skillshare is an online learning community for creative people to take a step in any direction that fits them best. I'm actually genuinely excited to work with Skillshare because I feel like all throughout my life I've been interested in so many different things and had so many different hobbies, and with online communities like this, I can finally learn those things at my own discretion and on my own schedule. There are so many different topics to dive into. For example, if I wanted to make a video like this very video right here, I could take Marcus Bradley's YouTube success course and learn how to script, shoot, and edit a video like a pro. Or for the hobby that I actually recently took up, which is playing the guitar, I took Mark Barnacle's Learn Guitar course so that I made sure I got started on the right foot. I think it's incredibly important for gamers like us to try to improve at other aspects of our life when we spend so much time on video games, especially for our mental health. And honestly guys, I struggle a lot with my own creativity and feeling like I have the knowledge to execute on my own creative goals. But Skillshare can solve that problem. The best part is that it's curated just for learning, so there's no ads, and premium classes are constantly popping up so you can go wherever your heart desires. And speaking of ads, this ad right here is lacking the usual humor that I bring to my ads because I'm actually very passionate about this, and I highly encourage any of you trying to pursue a creative dream of yours to do so right now. And because of a special offer during the summer to September, the first 1,000 of you to click the link in the description will get a 1-month free trial at Skillshare so you can start exploring your creativity today. Thanks again to Skillshare for supporting the channel, but I think it's time for me to start sharing my skills with you guys. Alright guys, tip number 1 is to always prioritize pushing the wave aggressively and at the tower line or even proxying if possible when planning to back or rotate into the jungle. This buys you more time to get back to lane after buying your item, or more time to rotate to a fight or jungle camps without missing out on that next wave. Tip number 2 guys is actually play differently when your jungler is near your lane and looking for a gank especially. You don't want to scare your opponent under tower unless you can get them very low by yourself anyway. So trade with them and intentionally lose a bit to bait them to playing up. Yes, you heard me correctly. You want to lose the trade a little bit. Too many times do I see solo laners make it very obvious there's a jungler or any teammate nearby and remove all chances of a gank. Look at your map and play differently based on who is around, on your team and the enemy team. Number 3 is that you should realize that diving the enemy backline in almost all scenarios is your role, and that it's actually the best thing you can do for your carries because it makes space and stops the damage characters from free casting in the team fights. People come to me all the time and say that they feel like they're playing the fights wrong because their carries are getting killed, but it's not your job. It doesn't matter whether your teammates are getting killed in every fight in the dive. You probably just need to dive better than the enemies. That's all it comes down to. Number 4 is, generally speaking, defense items outtrade damage items in the early game. If you have a defense item and your opponent goes for damage first, you should probably look to box them because you're probably going to win the trades. If the reverse is true, maybe play a bit more for the later on stages of the game and prioritize wave clear or rotating into the jungle. One thing that damage items are better than defense items at in the early game is PvEing. So whenever you go a damage item early on, look to out-farm your opponent instead of out-trading them. Number 5 is actually a big misconception. Even if you're winning lane very hard in the early game, you should not get the tower about pre-10 minutes. Keeping the tower alive will extend the laning phase even more and allow you to abuse your lead even more. Plus, it won't allow the enemy solo to freeze or even hold the waves on their side of the map to deny XP and make it more dangerous for you to clear waves. This applies to duo lane as well, but mid lane is the exception because getting a mid tower opens up the map a lot. Number 6 is huge, it's so important, and it's that you should try to hit the enemy solo plus the wave whenever you're using an AoE ability. This is the single best thing you can do in lanes to actually win them and kind of bully and dominate, but you just need to be careful of taking too much minion damage. With this strategy, you're getting the best of both worlds. You're poking the enemy solo and winning the 1v1 while also clearing the wave and getting your XP and getting those minions out of the way. Number 7 might be obvious, but it's that you should ward. Even if you're playing a very hard to gank character, warding is good for your team as well. It shows them who is on your side of the map and who exactly is ganking so they can decide to counter gank or trade the map elsewhere. And maybe sometimes you're not even afraid of a gank, you welcome the gank. And if you ward, it'll allow you to see when that jungler is actually going to be walking into your lane so you can decide on whether or not you're going to win the 1v2 or how you want to play it. Number 8 is that you should never give up when you're behind as a solo. The role still gets some of the most farm on the map, so although you may end up behind your opposition or the enemy solo, you will likely still be even or maybe even ahead with everyone else and still be able to do your job in the team fights. Especially if your character does better in the late game and the enemy solo is more of a lane bully. Number 9 is that you should try to never miss out on the blue XP and gold. It's a major source of farm for you, so make sure to buy yourself some time to either solo clear your blue between waves or always share it with your jungler. Don't pass up on that XP, especially in the early game. Number 10, last but certainly not least, I need a lot of you guys to listen right now. You need to stop blaming your jungler.
I want the truth! You can't handle the truth!
It's not the jungler's job to be your saving grace every game, and they're not supposed to save every lane that you've lost, and they're definitely not the reason you're even losing it. You need to focus on yourself and understand that every lane can be won or lost just in the 1v1. I mean, that's not to say that junglers don't impact the lane, because they do, and Smite is a team game after all. But the sooner you become more independent, regardless of your jungler, the more you're going to win in the end. If they invaded your first blue buff and your jungler wasn't there, don't immediately try and flame him and think about how you're going to pin this on him. Instead, think about what you're going to do next and how you're going to get back into that lane. That's what the best players do. And that's all I got for you guys. A short and sweet video, definitely to the point though, and I really think if you take these 10 tips, they're very important, and if you enact them in your gameplay, you're going to be a better player in the short term and in the long term. So yeah, keep trying to improve at soloing, guys. I appreciate all of you, and if you want to keep supporting me and my channel, then check out the sponsor Skillshare in the description once again. As always, stay safe and healthy, and I'll see you guys in the next video. Peace out.